These revelations provide a deeper understanding of the CIA's historical activities and contribute to ongoing discussions about intelligence operations during the mid 20th century. And as we will go into today, brothers and sisters, we will talk about three areas: the CIA crack cocaine, we will talk about the Malcolm X assassination, and we will also talk about hip hop music. Yes, there are indications that at the very least intelligence communities were involved in these things, if not the CIA directly. So let's get into it, fam.
If you've never heard of this book called Dark Alliance by Gary Webb, y'all should read it, especially if you're a Black person in America. Just hear me out for a second. This is Gary Webb, Jose Mercury News. They were located out in the Bay Area of California. I'm not sure if they're still there, but Anyway, and as you can see, his cause of death is suicide. Why does that ring a bell? Well, maybe it's because many people that went against the CIA in a time where the CIA was going strong either disappeared in some weird way, died in some weird accident, or just committed suicide. But let's keep going. Quote, Webb is best known for his Dark Alliance series, which appeared in the Mercury News in 1996. The series examined the origins of the CC trade in Los Angeles and claimed that members of the anti-communist Contra rebels in Nicaragua had played a major role in creating the trade, using sea profits to finance their fight against the government. It also stated that the Contras may have acted with the knowledge and protection of the Central Intelligence Agency. The series provoked outrage, particularly in the Los Angeles African American community, and led to 4 major investigations of its charges, end quote. Webb investigated this for a whole year before he finally came out with the information that he was able to obtain, and he was flabbergasted, to say the least. In fact, the information that he was able to obtain literally became a PR nightmare for the CIA. They could not bounce back. And that's why you see these movies and shows like Snowfall and Raising Kanan and all these other shows that shows how the trade actually took place and where it came from in America. And I'll make sure to leave the sources in the comments so y'all can go read it for yourselves. Quote, Dark Alliance, the story behind the sea explosion, Webb series reported that in addition to waging a proxy war for the U.S. government against Nicaragua's revolutionary Sandinista government in the 1980s, elements of the CIA-backed Contra rebels were also involved in trafficking booger sugar to the U.S. in order to fund their counter-revolutionary campaign. The secret flow of drugs and money, where it reported, had a direct link to the subsequent explosion of CC abuse that had devastated California's most vulnerable African-American neighborhoods. End quote. Now, if y'all want to go read the book, y'all can go on Amazon and purchase it. It's called Dark Allegiance by Gary Webb. I just want to warn y'all, this type of book is sensitive information. So the price is a little up there, but it's vital information. And remember, you guys, this man so-called unalived himself. Keep that in mind when you decide to read the article.
So let's add a little more context to that family. The sister did say the man was unalived. They found 2 bullet holes in his head. Right, so they labeled it as a suicide, but I'm not sure how many people, unless there was some type of additional discharge from the gun that he fired to commit suicide, issued an additional bullet into his head. But let us move on. During the 1980s, the CIA supported the Nicaraguan Contras, anti-Sandinista rebels, as part of Reagan's Cold War strategy. This included covert operations despite congressional bans. You can see the bowling of it. Allegations emerged that Contras financed their operations through cocaine trafficking, particularly in the United States. This was linked to the Iran-Contra scandal, where illegal arms sales to Iran funded the Contras. Investigative journalist Gary Webb and his series Dark Alliance in the San Jose Mercury News claimed the CIA complicitly in facilitating crack cocaine distribution in the United States cities, especially Los Angeles, which you can kind of understand from the movie Snowfall, or the series Snowfall, where the sister had discussed, was probably the launching pad for a lot of the cocaine trade throughout the inner cities, to include other areas as Miami, Florida, as kind of the hub in which this was distributed through the rest of the United States. The series sparked public outrage, but faced criticism for overstating direct CIA involvement. So, in this article, through certain connections, Gary Webb was able to find, it's a very dense book. I read it myself. Um, it's a very dense book in which Gary Webb meticulously goes through and reports exactly his findings as it relates to CIA involvement into the drug trade, especially there in California. The government did go on to investigate through the Kerry Committee report in 1989. A Senate subcommittee led by Senator John Kerry found evidence of Contra drug links, but noted limited CIA accountability. Limited, not exonerating them in the very least. Acknowledged CIA knowledge of Contra, and this is the CIA Inspector General report of 1998, which did acknowledge that the CIA knowledge of Contra-connected drug trafficking and instances of ignoring and reporting failures, but also denied institutional complicity. The Department of Justice review in 1997 states that it found no evidence of CIA-led conspiracy to spread crack in the United States, contradicting Webb's claims. So the contradiction here is that they're saying to some degree the CIA was involved. It's a big agency. It may have come out of a department. They may have known him some point in some aspect. But there's no conspiracy to get black people hooked on crack cocaine. In the media at the time, there were major outlets like the New York Times and the LA Times, which criticized Webb's reporting, leading to his professional decline. The Mercury News later distanced itself from the series, which was his boss at the time. They also debates also persist on whether CIA Contra ties exacerbated the 1980s crack epidemic, disproportionately affecting black and low-income neighborhoods. But we, as black people, we know that to be the case. Even those who didn't have family members who were directed, it just kind of changed the landscape in general, whether you were indirectly or directly involved. And the legacy and implication of this, reports have highlighted CIA negligence in monitoring assets, but absolved the agency of systematic involvement. So again, they're using words to provide additional nuance and say, yeah, we knew about it, but we really didn't know about it either. There are ethical dilemmas here that reflects Cold War era compromises where the United States prioritized anti-communism over curbing drug trade or ethical concerns. So basically stating that if the United States didn't have to execute this Cold War, the United States is otherwise an ethical state. But again, black people in America, we also know that is not the case. Culturally, Webb's work influenced public skepticism toward government transparency, later partially vindicated. For example, the CIA did admit in internal documents that there were, and this was in 2014, that there was some complicity, but they can't come fully out and say it because they're a government agency, and which receives most of its directives via the White House. Scholars and activists continue to analyze the extent of CIA knowledge versus active involvement. So this is something that is actually ongoing. So, that was CIA and crack cocaine in a nutshell. There's a book, Dark Alliance, written by Gary Webb. You see a number of videos online with Freeway Rick Ross from California, from Southern California, who can talk about that, particularly in his interview on Valuetainment and Vlad TV. But that's partially the reason why we should actually be involved. This is the Cold War brought to the black neighborhoods of America in the form of crack cocaine. Let's go into hip hop, family.
Pull up the clip by Ice Cube. I'm curious, and I still have one last question within that context that I go back to, but I want to play this clip for you. Here's Cube with Bill Maher, okay? And I kind of want you to hear this and tell me if you agree with him. Go for it.
Okay, let's take rap music.
Let's take it.
Same people who own the labels own the prisons.
True.
So,
literally the same people?
Literally the same people who own the labels own private prisons. So, it seems really kind of suspicious, if you want to say that word, that
it seems obvious.
The records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry.
But they didn't make you write those lyrics.
It's not about making somebody write the lyrics. It's about being there as guardrails to make sure certain songs make it through and certain songs don't. Certain flavors are exposed on the record. Some records are made by committee, meaning record company guys sit around and tell the artists, this is hot, say that, do this. We're going to have this guy write the lyrics. We're going to have that. So the narrative is really kind of, structured and really made into what the record company want the record to be, and what a lot of artists are frustrated with this kind of music making. A lot of people, feel like they're being controlled by the label.
You can
this
stop
is
right
how they
there,
do
Rob.
it.
What are your thoughts on what he's saying here?
It's true. It's obvious.
So there is a clip of Patrick Bet-David podcast, which shows a clip of Bill Maher and Ice Cube actually doing a interview with Bill Maher discussing hip hop and the prison industrial complex and how the labels actually influence the music to some degree or another, possible intelligence agencies involved. There's also an NPR article that's titled Hip Hop Shines Light Through the Cracks in American Justice, which touches upon hip hop's role in expanding systemic injustices in America. While it may not focus specifically on the CIA, discussions about the agency's relationship with hip hop often involves the following. 1. Allegations of CIA influence on the drug trade. We just got through talking about it. Many hip-hop artists, including Tupac Shakur, Nas, and Public Enemy, have referenced theories that the CIA played a role in flooding black communities with drugs in the 1980s.